I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it already feels like home.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig. Hey guys, it's Marty and welcome to the Feels Like Home podcast. This week we have our friend Adam Davis and his son Addison. And they came in to talk a little bit about Adam and what he does. He has a fascinating job. He works at the Wilds over near Zanesville, Ohio. And the Wilds is an open air safari ranch, basically, that houses exotic animals. It's part of the Columbus Zoo. They have a partnership with the Columbus Zoo. But a lot of people know Adam because he grew up in Kingston. He went to school at St. Trace. He is another person that from a long line of St. Trace soccer alumni that have been on the Feels Like Home podcast. And we talk a little bit about how proud I am of the people that I got to hang out with growing up and people who were in my life early that had a huge influence. And Adam and his family are very important people in my life over the years. Just a wonderful, wonderful people. And Adam, he shares his story about how he became kind of his path to working at the Wilds. He's been there 22 years. But the cool thing is a few years back, the Wilds was approached by Nat Geo, the channel on TV, to have a reality show built around, it's called Secrets of the Zoo. And it's built around caring for these exotic animals. And so a lot of the footage is from the Columbus Zoo and at the Wilds in Zanesville, where Adam works and where he is a caretaker of animals. And it's just an amazing story. He has a fascinating job, and Mike and I were kind of in awe of what he gets to do, and it's his job. He gets to hang out with white rhinos and giraffes and some amazing animals. And so he tells some stories about that, tells some stories about the TV show and what it took to film the TV show, and then the response that they've received from that TV show. So it's really pretty cool. And then Addison, his son, talked a little bit about what it's like having a dad that has been on TV and but how he has gotten to grow up with his dad working at the Wilds and what that's afforded him as a young man. So it's a great conversation. We hope you enjoy this. Again, Adam Davis from the Wilds.
For sure.
All right, 6 minutes in, we're here with Adam Davis.
That's right.
Right.
Of the Wilds of Secrets of the Zoo. Right?
Oh, yeah.
Is that what they call it?
Yeah. There's a lot of things to talk about with Adam.
Yeah. And I don't know if we got it on record earlier, but this does reinvigorate the Zane Trace soccer alumni.
That's right.
It does.
There's going to be we need to create a playlist on the podcast. It's just like Zane Trace soccer alumni. It just has them all listed.
Yep.
That way you can hit them all at once. So
the thing is there's enough of them that you could create a playlist that wouldn't be just one or two episodes.
Right. That's right.
Yeah. So.
And brother to Jonathan Davis, season 2. I just looked this up. Season 2 guest. Okay. So we can only do a Davis every 2 seasons.
That's it.
So yeah, I mean I don't know.
Too much.
So you'll have to come back, Addison. Addison's son is here. So
That's right.
You'll have to come back in season 6.
That's all right.
I'm sorry. It's the way it works. Right. Well, it's great to have you, man.
Thank you.
This is really cool. I knew nothing about this until Marty told me.
Yeah.
And I want to talk about just what you do first, because what you do alone would just be enough to do a podcast on. But tell us exactly what you do with the Wilds and so on.
Yeah, it's very different and unique. I'm technically an animal management specialist, which you could compare it to like being a zookeeper pretty much. But the difference with my job where I work is it's really large. So typical zoos are about 50 acres and, we keep our animals in pastures that are 200 and 300 acres. The whole facility is just under 10,000, but we just keep animals on about 2,000 of that. So it's more like being on a farm or a ranch, honestly.
Yeah.
We work with large herds. So where, at a zoo, you would see typically 3, 4, 5 animals of a species. Some of our herds are over 100. And it really changes the scale and how you manage them in a lot of different ways. Rhinos, I think we've got 18 white rhinos, and we've got a handful of Indian rhinos. So, almost 25 animals there alone, which that's really something to see when you come out and you see these large groups and large herds. It's really, really cool, but it raises a lot of challenges on how you do things as well. Yeah. So my day-to-day is kind of difficult depending on the season and the day. Everybody kind of is like, what do you do? And that's hard.
Yeah.
But that fits my personality really well. I have probably horrible attention problems, so I like the variation that I get. Typically, a big base of my job is a lot of cleaning and a lot of feeding. So I'll clean draft barn, our medical barn, some of our yards, and I could have, like right now, in our medical barn, we've got an ostrich, we've got a Szechuan takin, and then we've got an African antelope called a scimitar horned oryx, and then we've got an Asian deer called a Bactrian deer, and that can be zebra, can be Przewalski wild horses, a lot of hoofed animals is what I kind of work with. So typical day is really hard to kind of give you.
Yeah.
Anything from, yesterday we unloaded a couple 100 bales of alfalfa for our draft. We darted an oryx for an anesthesia, which ended up standing up mid-procedure, which made it really interesting. And I do a lot of hoof work. So I trim a lot of the feet there. And then I fly our drone as well. So I do a lot of that. So there's a lot of variation, a lot of differences. Yeah.
So how did you find yourself at the Wilds? I kind of know the story, but for our listeners, I mean, that wasn't your plan.
No.
When you graduated from high school and went off to college, right? So.
Yeah. No, it wasn't. I try to use this as like a teaching tool, for different people. And we do a lot of internships and a lot of students, and I'll talk to a lot of people about what I do and how to do it. And when I first started and went to college, I was going to be a teacher. And I didn't know when I was in high school. How do you know what you're going to do?
Right.
You know what I mean? And I remember my friends like, oh, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. And I'm like, I have no idea what I'm going to do. And so I was like, being a teacher might not be too bad. I had a lot of teachers I liked. And so I went to school for that, and I got a couple years into it, and I'm like, I don't like this. Mm-hmm. This doesn't feel like me. And my dad had gone on a youth trip because they were our youth pastors, and he had gone to the Wilds with a group. And we had my dad was a game warden. My grandparents had a farm, so I was always around animals and liked them. And he's like, you got to check this place out. He said, it's a lot different than a zoo. You'd like it. So we went out there on a tour, and it's about, from Chillicothe, I grew up in Kingston. It's about an hour and a half from there. Yep. And we went out there, and I'm like, this is wild. All these animals are out in these big open areas. And he's like, you should work here. And I'm like, what? He's like, see if they got an application. I'm like, Dad, it's like 2 hours away. And so I got an application to be like a shuttle driver. And I went in for my interview, and the lady that interviewed me, she's like, you're not going to be a shuttle driver. You're going to be a tour guide. So I ended up being a tour guide in my first year, and I'm like, this is cool. I can't believe people do this. And it was one of the first jobs that I had that was easy,
Yeah.
And I'm like, I like doing this, even if I don't get paid a lot. So I ended up going to Hawking College, and got into their wildlife program. There wasn't a lot of avenues to be a zookeeper or anything. You know, I went to a school. My dad took me down to Santa Fe Community College in Florida, which they actually have a zoo you take care of and they train you, but it was really early. So they didn't have like a diploma, or it was just like a certification.
Right? Yeah.
So I was like, I don't know, like that seems kind of risky. So I ended up going to Hocking College, and everybody's there for natural resources, to be a game warden, to, you know, to work at state parks, to do this. And like, what do you want to do? I was like, work with exotic animals. I was the only guy or girl that was going to do that. So, I got my degree. Well, most of my degree there. I ended up quitting with 1 quarter left in electives to take a job at Columbus Zoo. In the reptile department, but then I went back after and finished up my associates there.
So wait, reptile department, like
snakes?
Snakes.
Yeah.
Because like that sounds like what that would be hell. For
Yeah,
me.
it would be like, I know, it's like a demotion for a lot of people.
Like,
I was really into reptiles. Like I had a snake. At the time I had a boa constrictor and a rat snake, and they were cool, you know, and I knew a lot about them. I did well in school, like I had herpetology classes and stuff, and that's actually how I got my job. And my professor's like, hey, there's a job opening up at Columbus Zoo. If you want it, I bet I could help you with that. And in my profession, experience is very important. So that's why I took that job. And it was interesting because I thought I was good with snakes, and I got in there around these cobras, and I was like, man, I don't know if I'm that good. Because I was like, this is kind of freaky.
and if you get intimidated and show a lot of fear, like,
Well, that's the thing is you don't want to be jumpy in there, you know?
No, you don't.
And I was a seasonal, so they weren't going to let me touch any of the hot stuff. But still, you know, being surrounded by that, I was like, ooh, this is different, you know?
Yeah.
So I did 10 months there, and some guy got pissed and quit at the Wilds, and 3 people in front of me turned it down. So I was like their last choice.
Oh, that's fortuitous.
Isn't that awesome?
That's true.
Yeah.
So in my interview, like halfway through, my first boss was like, do you want this? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, it's yours. I was like, that's the greatest day of my life.
They had you like on a bus out there.
It was it.
We got to take advantage of this now.
Yeah, it was it.
That's great though. I mean,
And how many years has that been?
22 years ago.
22. Wow.
Yeah.
And I mean, you've seen a lot of change at the Wilds too. Cause you know, in all honesty, I remember going out, this would have been 20 some years ago, maybe. And it looks a lot different than what it was now. In fact, I was just telling my son that we need to go out next year.
Yeah, you guys do.
You know, because they've never been there.
Yeah.
And you know, the greatness of it is they see YouTube videos or shows on television.
Mm-hmm.
This is a chance to see these creatures up close.
Yeah.
That you're never going to, outside of safaris,
Yep.
you're
Right.
never going to get to see.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what you consider it, right? Like an open safari type of environment.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's actually what I think that's what we name our main tours is open air safaris. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so you mentioned that your job is pretty much to take care of these animals. The video clip that I saw from Secrets of the Zoo, which is not as insidious as it sounds, but
Right.
I thought it was really interesting to see you with the giraffes.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people don't realize, like, they're kind of sneaky animals.
Yeah. They can be pretty flighty.
Yeah. And so, and I was really impressed with the way that you were giving them their birth, giving them out there. I imagine that happens a lot where there's certain animals that
Yeah.
you've got to really give them some space or you can't get too skittish around them.
Yes. And it's one of those things that, you know, when I got hired, thankfully, I got hired into a group of people that have been doing this for, you know, now they've been doing it for 30, 40 years. And that experience is key. A lot of the things that I do, if not most of it, it can't be taught in a school setting.
Right.
And that's part of it is I've got animals. Well, for instance, we brought a deer down today that has some hoof issues. That's one of the flightiest animals that we work with. And it was down under anesthesia. We woke it back up in a stall, but this animal's used to spending its entire life out in the pasture. So our vets had when we had told them this deer's gonna be crazy. So they gave it a long acting tranquilizer, and we let it get up, and then we'll check on it through the day to make sure it's doing okay. And they wanted me to put some grain in for it for tonight. And just me cracking the door and sliding that feed pan in, it ran to the other side of the wall and smashed into the wall.
Oh my.
Just with something like that.
Yeah.
And, but just down the hallway is a talking that if you open up the door there, they'll bust through it and just kill you.
Yeah.
So you've got these different spectrums, and you really need to, it's life or death on both ends of the scale.
Yeah.
You know, I could have, if I would have stepped in that stall with that deer, I could have killed it. Mm-hmm. And then I would have died if I would have went in the other one. Right. So yeah, it's learning the species in general, and then learning the individuals within that species too. Yeah. And it just takes time. You know, when I first got hired out there, my boss was like, "You're going to be a rookie for 5 years." And he's right. You know, I didn't probably move my first animal by myself for the first 5 years or so.
Yeah.
And it just takes you that long to learn this weird trade.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's definitely unique. So the whole TV show thing.
Yeah.
Like, was that an idea that you guys had, and you went someplace with it and said, "Hey, we have a really unique, interesting job, and we think it would make for." I mean, you're living in the world of reality TV shows, right? Or did Nat Geo come to you and say, "Hey, we think it would be cool to do this"? I said,
or did you get told that you were going to be in touch?
Yeah. So we had actually in-house, we kind of make our own little videos for training and teaching and stuff.
Yeah.
And we've always like, dude, this would be a winner for like, reality TV. Yeah. And of course my boss is like, you can't show that stuff to just everybody. And, but Jack Hanna, the zoo, several years ago had become pretty entwined with us. And Jack Hanna had an unbelievably famous, show with his animal adventures. So the way I understand it is his production company or his film company had this idea. And so what they did was the first season, I think they shot 6 or 8 shows, and those were like pilots. And then what they did was they shopped that around. So we ended up settling on Nat Geo Wild. They were just the ones that bought the show for us. But Jack was a huge advocate for us. And obviously the zoo. So they kind of came up with that idea themselves. Yeah. And then we were kind of told we were going to do it. Yeah. Which I imagine anybody could imagine that, like, you've got some people I work with that don't mind being on the camera, and other people are like, keep it away.
Yep. Sure.
Because it's a lot of work. Believe it or not, we've learned, and I've learned so much through this. It's very different.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think people, they don't really know what goes on behind the scenes of a TV show, or especially a reality show like that, where they're filming you all the time.
Yeah.
And you only see just a small percentage of the total footage that they take, right? So
small. I mean, when Nat Geo's there, they'll usually spend a good, couple months with us. And thankfully they've learned, because the other thing that I've learned is, you would think that these guys that come in were Nat Geo animal people, and that no,
they're just a camera crew.
They are. So we had guys from the Kardashians. We had guys that were from Jackass. We had, remember Hulk Hogan's show?
Oh, yeah.
Our director was that guy. He was the one that did Hulk Hogan's show. Another dude was My Big Redneck Wedding. He did those. Gosh. So we've got these guys from all over, from Florida, from Maryland, from some in Ohio, and they have no idea what to do. So the first season was rough.
Yeah.
It was figuring them out and us and vice versa.
Yeah.
And just figuring out what we can do. And from, my boss's perspective too, what can we show? What should we show? How is this going to be interpreted? That's why I always tell people, like, if you watch the seasons, it gets better and better and more loose. And thankfully they keep the same crew with us.
Yeah.
We haven't shot for a couple years, but not sure if they'll continue or not, but it's been a huge adjustment because you're right. Whenever they're out there, there's a director, a producer, 2 camera guys, a grip guy, a sound guy. They'll have 2 big cameras in the truck following us. And then there's microphones on up to 15 of us.
Yeah.
And then each truck probably has 2 to 3 GoPros on it. And then there'll be a drone in the air as well.
Yeah.
And, a normal hour-long procedure, anesthesia, will turn into all day, 6 hours. So after you get done, everyone gets interviewed in your specific spot. So to keep with everything has to stay symmetrical, you know? So my clothes stay the same. Our hair stays the same.
Yeah.
The spot where I get interviewed stays the same.
Yeah.
And everything is like that.
And that's throughout the whole season.
The whole
not just
season.
that episode.
Yeah.
Right.
And what people don't, I'll probably bust some people's bubbles here, but what people don't understand is like what you see come together is several days, not just that day.
Yep.
So there'll be times where they'll call in and be like, hey, answer this question for me. And then they'll cut all that in.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll see these interviews and stuff. And I've taken that interview 2 months after the whole thing was done. Because they'll be like, all right, on this day, we knocked this draft down and we did this, this, and this. So answer me this question, answer me this. So they'll have to remind me what you've seen and kind of what they want to hear.
Right. Yeah.
And not to ruin any more, but like what you see is fairly accurate, you know?
Sure. Yeah.
Some of the names
That's a good way to put it.
Some of the names are changed and some of the situations are way more dramatized,
Right.
And that's kind of difficult. Like some of us are actors and some of us aren't. And I was one that kind of wasn't as much, but, it's pretty accurate for what you get to see.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I can tell you what you mentioned about the clothes.
Yeah.
And here's what's weird. So years ago, they did the Missing Women documentary, and I was a part of that. And this documentary comes out. It's a 6-7 episode thing, and the following summer, I'm walking through the Majestic Courtyard at a First Thursday, and this guy goes, "Hey, man, where's your sweater?" And I'm like, this is like the middle of August. I'm like, what's this dude talking about? He's like, your sweater, like, when you're on the show. And I was like, oh, he's talking about the documentary.
Yep.
And it turned out like I'd worn this green sweater.
That crazy.
And I was like, oh my goodness. Like I can't even remember what I wore, 2 days ago, nevertheless.
That's
what
crazy.
I wore 6 months ago. But yeah. And the same way.
Yep.
I mean, and a lot of times, sometimes things got conflated. So like they put together things that didn't really go together, so you kind of had to, people would say, oh, is that the way that really happened? I'm like, nah, not really. Like, I don't know if that was an editing thing or if it was just intentional, but it definitely happened that it was not conflated. It was definitely conflated, so.
And it's hard. Like they take all of this footage and then they've got these big trays where they keep all these SD cards and then they send those to Florida where these people just sit in a room and edit video.
Yep.
And what you see at the end of it is maybe 5 or 10% of what they shot.
Yep.
And so they'll edit a bunch of stuff and then they find holes in the storyline. So then they send questions back up to us to fill like those holes.
Yeah.
So the production and the time that you spend, there'll be some days where I'm not one of the main guys day to day on it, but I still spend a bunch of time on it. But sometimes you'll be with the film guys for 10 or 12 hours.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize that, I knew a little bit about it, but I had no idea how big it was, especially for something on Nat Geo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's interesting how, when I've watched the show, how your community that you grew up in rallied around you. And, and so I would see on Facebook, it was like, hey, new episodes of Secrets of the Zoo.
It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. And I was like, I was proud
Thanks.
of you.
Thanks, man.
And the program, because, just watching, we grew up watching Jack Hanna's shows, right? He put Columbus Zoo on the map with his ability to be in front of people.
Yep.
Being on Letterman and Leno and those shows and bringing animals out. And so I was always had this pride personally for the Columbus Zoo and how, he put it on the map.
Yeah.
But then this next layer of reality show, it was fun to watch. And so you'd be watching and I was like, there's Adam.
Isn't that crazy?
And then, it was really fun to watch. And, that show may have made its run. You're right.
Yep.
Ultimately your job was to care for the animals. And like in the end, that's what you would have done.
Yeah.
Regardless of whether the crew was there or not.
Yeah, exactly.
And I think that's what people really needed to see. And I think they saw that. Yeah. They did paint that in a really good light. You personally, but you, the show, or the Wilds. And I was really pleased with how, like Mike said, the Secrets of the Zoo.
Yeah.
But it was just, it is something that people don't get to see. It's kind of like the back lot of a zoo or the Wilds. It's a pretty amazing place.
This is big. Horizon Fiber Internet is ready.
Let them get you hooked up and power your Wi-Fi network
with the speed and reliability that only a 100% fiber network can do.
Horizon is ready to help you do what you do better. With real people, real rates, and a real service.
Connect with them today, and the first month is free, plus no contracts and no data caps. Call 740-772-8331
or visit horizonconnects.com/Chillicothe
to sign up today.
Well, thanks, man. It's nice to hear that and from people the way they interpret it, because we see it as normal, and we see it as just, and we know it's not, but that's just kind of what we do. And it can be very hard to explain what we do and explain some of the problems that these animals face and explain why it's hard to keep animals like this. And one of the things that we wanted to approach with this show and help with is, people would understand, you can't go to the zoo and especially us and learn, a lot of that stuff, and you kind of have to see it. That's why a lot of times we try to use videos and things like that to teach people is once you get out there and see it and understand, some of these problems, just like that deer I was telling you about, like, just put it in a stall, feed it this or feed it that. And it's like, you have no idea.
Yeah, right.
And you see some of these things, like the stuff, I could tell you guys stories for days. Once you see these animals, and what they're capable of and, how they need to be taken care of, it'll blow your mind.
Yeah.
I've seen bison push pickup trucks just 15, 20 feet out of the way to get back into a herd. It doesn't even bloody their lip or anything. I mean, the scale of power and, just ability for some of this stuff, it's unbelievable. And it's hard to interpret that to normal people, that aren't around it.
These are wild animals. They were not meant to be kept in captivity.
Yeah.
Right. So for people, it's hard for them to understand that, this isn't a tame animal.
No.
You make it like that video that you sent us with the giraffe. You make it look like you've got that giraffe trained. But he's probably got you trained.
He does.
Right.
Yeah.
And people forget that they're wild animals sometimes.
They do.
Yeah.
And I think our culture lately has gotten bad about that. Personally, the things you see on Instagram or Facebook and a lot of that stuff, you see people petting lions, you see people doing these types of things, keeping, stuff as pets that they shouldn't keep.
Right.
And, back when I grew up, I remember my grandparents and stuff, like, that's a wild animal. don't forget that's a wild animal, and we're losing some of that.
Yeah.
And it's not only that, but even if you can tame down some of these things, hypothetically, you really shouldn't.
Right.
There's exceptions to all of that, and just like there is everything, but at the end of the day, like you were talking about with that giraffe, you're probably talking about our bull Raha.
Yeah.
And one of the things that we do differently, a lot of us do differently, is, and I always try to teach people this, is try to use their behaviors that come naturally to them in order to, approach them. There's a lot of times where we got to try to teach them to do things that doesn't really come natural to them. And you can do that to an extent, but at the end of the day, when that animal gets stressed or worried, it will revert back to its natural instincts.
Sure. Yep.
So I move him with food. I know he likes to eat, so I just gave him some food. I know that he doesn't like me being, too close to him, so he'll move away. I know a lot of these tricks and stuff, and it's basically all things that they've showed us.
Sure.
And because at the end of the day, you're way safer betting on that than you are the other side of that.
Well, and if you have 12 giraffe, that one can respond to those other things. The other 11 may respond to something completely different.
Yep.
Yeah.
And you've got that. That's very true. We've got a big group, and there's a lot of personalities in there.
Yep.
And that's what I try to train a lot of people too, is you need to be looking at the crazy one in there. That's the one that's going to be your make or break.
Yeah.
But then you've got,
You guys talk about that in the show.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You point that out.
yeah. And that's what I'm blessed to work with an amazing crew, because the things that you guys see wouldn't be possible without a good core of people. I mean, a lot of the people on there, like Kurt, and Patty, my partner, have been doing this for 15, 20, 25 years. And there's so much value in that.
Yeah.
Just seeing, okay, remember that last year when we brought these animals in, this happened. And you really need that. And we've got such a good crew that they can put their egos to the side and be open-minded and realize that being behind that door is important.
Yeah.
Being in that truck over there is important. And we can work together, because those procedures and stuff that you guys see, there's 4 or 5 people and key points that if you miss, catching that animal in this gate, you're done. You may only get one shot at this.
Right.
Like that little deer we brought in today, one of the reasons we brought it in was because we've already darted it twice. And that second dart was real hard.
Yeah.
You're not going to get a third shot.
Right.
So we had to bring it in. And it takes a long time to learn that skill set, and it takes special people. That's why we really lean on our internships, our students, our seasonal staff, because we can kind of weed out a little bit of that.
Sure.
We got to have a lot of trust and faith in people, because it's dangerous, really dangerous. So you really got to count on the people that are there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The one thing I've thought watching the show, that you have a really good work culture with the people that you work with.
Yeah.
It's obvious that you have faith and trust in them.
Yeah.
Because in some of those, they do show some of the hairy situations you get into, moving the rhinos, or, it's obvious that you guys have a great group of people.
Good.
And you have some great characters too. Like, there's some fun.
Hurt.
There's some fun being had at the Wilds, and that's fun for people to see and watch. And I don't know, has the show impacted like attendance out there and the number of people visiting?
For sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. And
Fantastic.
thank you for saying it's nice that comes through, that you guys see that, because we have a lot of fun, and I'm a big proponent of that. And we get along really well. I mean, we still fight like, brothers and sisters, but that's good.
Yeah.
It's not good that everybody agrees on everything. So it's nice to have that back and forth. My partner and I are opposites on a lot of stuff, but that really helps us get to a good conclusion.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, as far as impact on the wilds, it's been big.
Yeah.
When it went to Disney Plus, you could tell like immediately.
Yeah.
Like whenever it hit Disney Plus, it was more people recognized us from the buses and waving and asking for pictures and stuff. And even a couple times, you know, I was at Home Depot one night and some guy was like, "Hey, are you on a TV show?" And
You're like, yeah, I'm on WWE.
yeah. Well, I had some woman. I thought I was tough stuff. I was in Aldi's one night, and this lady's like, "Hey, are you in a TV show?" She's an older woman, and I was like, "Yeah." And she was just like, "I knew it. You're on Blue Bloods, aren't you?" And I was like,
Did you roll with it?
"Yeah, like yeah,
yes, I am."
No, I was like, I'm not too cool yet." So
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
IMDb profile's still not filling out like that.
No.
Right? Like,
yes, it did. Yeah, like our attendance, like we had this idea during COVID actually, because it was impacting our tours and stuff pretty big. You know, we cut like every place.
Yeah.
We cut everything in half. We don't make a ton of money out there where we've got a big pad to live off of. But when we heard that those restrictions were coming down, the show had been doing good for a few years. And we were like, you know, do you think people would pay to do a tour with us? And, you know, people were like, I think they would. And we're like, well, what should we charge? And so we came up with this number that seemed high, but we're like, we'll just give a couple tours a week and see what happens. And they booked big time.
Yeah.
We that first year we sold almost every tour. And the crazy thing is hardly any of them were local. Name a state, and that's where they came from.
Wow.
I mean,
That's fantastic.
You would have people fly in, take a tour, and then go fly home.
wow.
And that was crazy. It's crazy to see,
Yeah.
and it's still happening. And you know, I had this little girl that she had wrote me letters for over a year. You know, I love your show, and you know, I like Kurt and Courtney, and so she wrote me all these letters, and she's from Minnesota, and she's like, hopefully one of these days I can get out there. And sure enough, last year she came out,
Wow.
you know, and we took her on a big tour, and she got to meet everybody. And there's so much of that. You will be driving through pasture, and people are waving and yelling your name, and it's weird.
Yeah.
Kurt gets it more than I do. Like we'll go out for lunch or something, and you'll just see people look at him, and it's wild.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's been different.
Not something you ever expected when you took that job 22 years ago.
No, you know, I think these guys, Addison, they were out with me for lunch last summer, and I had some little boy, you know, looking at me, and he finally said something to me, and you know, I'm getting pictures with his family and meeting him, and a lot of times these kids kind of shut down, and because they're meeting somebody that they've seen on TV, and it took us a while to understand that, like, man, these kids won't say anything.
Yeah.
Like the tour guides are like, they just were asking about you and Kurt and Cody and all these people. And then when we get on the bus with them, they just like shut down.
Right.
And I think they're just so starstruck, which is so weird.
Yeah.
So different.
That is funny.
Well, and I mean, when you're talking about the environment of where you're at, like it's also you're, you know, a few yards away from some of the biggest animals in the world.
Yeah,
and,
right.
you know, like that's a lot to take in.
It
in
is.
addition to seeing people that are on TV, like it gets to be a lot.
Well, and they know some of our animals as much as they do us, you know, and that's something I didn't expect either is, God, I had one little girl. She was on a camp out there, and she yelled my name, and she was like, I watched the show. I was like, do you? And she's probably 10. And she recited my lines from the show, and like how's Tuffy, you know, it started naming animals, and I'm like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
And the other thing,
The kids binge these shows.
Right,
That's why.
that's it.
My kids could probably tell you the names of the animals more than they could tell them your name.
And that's what we started finding out, especially since it happened during COVID.
Yeah.
And we didn't expect, you know, some of these people are like, you really helped us through COVID,
Yeah.
you know, because we found your show and then we just binged it, you know, or my kids would just watch the show over and over and over again. And it was cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool, you know, to see that.
Yeah, you don't think about that when you're in the midst of filming that show, but
No.
the aftermath of that is really interesting.
Yeah, it is. It's been a blessing for us. I mean, there's some times where it's like, oh my God, I got to do another interview. I got to do this, you know, and it's tough, but
These podcast guys are calling from the show.
this is cool.
You can't keep them away.
Right.
We're at the tail end of this thing too. So, you know, so you, when are you open and doing tours?
We give tours typically like May 1st through October 31st. That's our general season.
Okay.
We've got a little more higher price point tour called our Wild Side Tour, which are really good. And we'll do 2 of those a day through the winter. And they're RSVP only, but those will continue through the winter a little bit. And my job changes so drastically from summer to winter.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting. If people are really into the wilds, wintertime's cool to see too, because all those animals come back to the barn. So like you walking through the draft barn, seeing those animals pretty close up. And then you go to the rhino barn. We've got a new kid down there that's only like a month old.
Wow.
So you see 18 rhinos in one pen, you know, coming up to the bars, and it's really different.
Yeah.
But in the summer, they're all out.
Yeah.
So, you know, my job in the winter, you know, I'll spend a few hours cleaning draft barn whenever Patty's not doing it. And, a lot of cleaning, a lot of feeding, a lot of just general care, because we're supplementing everything for them.
Sure.
And then in the summer, everything gets kicked out. So then we've got babies that are coming. You know, we'll have hundreds of babies sometimes in the spring. So you're tagging calves and doing things like that. And we're mowing, you know, weed eating, getting ready for winter, doing research projects and things like that, and general tours going on. And that helps. I like that switch, you know, about February, I'm like, oh God, I'm so ready for summer to start.
Yeah.
I'm tired of cleaning draft up.
So I know you're not supposed to play favorites, but do you have a favorite animal that you love to care for, or you have a special connection?
Addison is listening.
Yeah.
You're going to fact check this with Addison.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, he could probably attest to this. It's after you're around a lot of these things, like you start to appreciate them for their stuff, but it's hard to beat white rhinos, wouldn't you say, Junior?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it's hard to be next to a 6,000 pound animal that likes its belly rubbed. You know, it's the weirdest thing. Really? It just, and then to like, I just had actually Addison's boss. She had come out the other day to see this little 1-month-old rhino. And to see this little thing run up to you that weighs a few hundred pounds, and then it's 4,000 pound mom standing beside it.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I mean, even after doing it 22 years, like to see that thing running at you, it's like, wow.
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to beat that kind of stuff. And we do tours like in the evenings as well. So you really feel close to God in some of those moments. Yeah. Like I'll be out there by myself closing up pastures while the sun's setting, and you're sitting next to, you know, 15 rhinos or giraffe or these deer in the water and just doing their own thing.
Yep.
And you know, it's
kind of take it all in.
It is. Yeah. It's a blessing. It really is.
Yeah. Well, that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, it's funny again, I knew nothing.
Yeah.
Until we started talking about this. And, you know, I've been there a couple of times, especially when I was working in the newspaper. We would go to Zanesville and we would always kind of find our way out there or whatever. And it always impressed me as a place that folks could learn about a lot of things that they thought they knew about because they read a book somewhere.
Yep.
But suddenly when you're out there and you're seeing it, you know, in real time, it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah.
So,
it is. It's hard to explain, you know, for people. I've got that's kind of one of the nice things too, is a lot of people will come visit me out there from high school and stuff like that, take them around, and you can see after they get there, their eyes open up and like, oh my gosh, like this is what you do. I'm like, yeah, it's weird. You know, even my family, I've got a couple of friends that are like, you're like a game warden or something. I'm like, no, it's not what I do at all. But they get out there and it's way different. We kind of laugh about it, all of us, because it happens so much. You know, you get people out there and it just blows their mind. Even the kids like at school, you know, after they see the show, you know, that's what Addison and Ayla have talked to me before, and like their friends see the show and they're like, oh, your dad does that? Yeah. Even though it's a half hour from them.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you don't know what's in your own backyard.
No.
I mean, you know, we think about, I mean, I lived here 15, 20 years before I went to Tecumseh for the first time. Right. So you have all the people that don't know, that live in your backyard, but have no idea what the wilds is about.
Yeah. Oh, I still haven't been to Tecumseh. I graduated there. I still haven't been there.
That's funny.
I know, it's horrible.
So you get questions all the time, Addison, about what your dad does?
Because like people will be like, what do your parents do for work? And I'm like, yeah, my dad works at the wilds. And they're like, what? And I was like, yeah, he works primarily with the giraffes and stuff. And they just gave me like weird looks, like, "Kid being serious?" And when I was in preschool, like,
that's a pretty good story, kid.
Yeah. It's strange. That's what I always tell this story about Addison. He had gotten Lyme disease when he was probably 9-10 years old. So he had to go to Children's Hospital, and we're up there, and he kind of turned the corner and was doing pretty good. And like several doctors came in and were talking to him, and they were asking him all these standard questions. And one of the questions they asked him was, what kind of animals have you been around lately? And he just rattled all. He was just like, well, bison, some rhinos, giraffe. And like, you could see these people like,
they were like, okay,
oh, this kid's way sicker than we thought.
What an imagination.
Maybe he's declining.
Yeah. And I said, nah, he's telling the truth. I work out in the wilds, and that's what's been neat too, is, you know, him and his sister Ayla have gotten to kind of grow up doing that. Like Christmas Day, he came out, helped me clean and feed, and
that's cool.
It's normal for them too. So it's been neat to bring them along as well.
The perks of having a cool dad, right?
You take it for granted, like you don't know, like how much it means to certain people, but it's really cool.
Yeah. We don't get that about from our kids about having a podcast.
Yeah.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah.
Maybe now.
Yeah.
Maybe now.
Right.
So my last question for you is, did participating in Zane Trace soccer prepare you well for
I tell you what, man.
managing animals?
Listen, I will tell you this. It helps to be athletic. It helps to take a hit and to be aggressive. That's one of the things that is hard to teach too, is we hand catch some of these things, you know, and we get into situations where, like you were talking about before, you've got to trust your team, and some athletic ability, a lot of athletic ability comes into that sometimes. Like, you know, some of these animals, like I remember we had this deer fawn that we had to catch out in pasture, and our vet at the time, she must have thought way higher of us than what we were. But she's like, we need to go catch that fawn. I'm like, that thing's already a month old. Like, it's got wheels. And she's like, yeah, but it's lame on one leg. You guys are fine. And it was everything I had in the tank to get close to this thing. And I had to sweep its back legs to tackle this thing, to get it down on the ground. And we'll do stuff like that on the daily. You know, there's been times where, you know, we have these little goat antelope that we would catch. And at the time we had 14 or 15 of them, and they'll jump the wall. So when you go in to catch them, they'll bounce off the corners and they don't stop.
Oh my gosh.
So we'll have nets. And I remember that day we caught all of them, and I had ripped my pants up, and I was so dirty that I just threw my clothes away after the end of the day. And it really helps to have that athletic ability. Like Patty, I remember one of my first couple months, you know, she'd been doing this at Kings Island when they had animals, and then it'd come up here, and she taught me how to hand catch gazelle, African antelope, these little African antelope. So they hid me by this door, and they would run these things past me, and I would have to grab their horns and then learn how to put them up against the wall without getting like my pants kicked off of me.
Yeah.
And so it did, a lot of the athletic stuff comes into play with our job, and a lot of other things too. But yeah, it's interesting.
Yeah, that's fun. Yeah, we had a lot of fun back in the day.
Yeah, we did.
I was a brand new coach, probably, your sophomore, junior year.
Yeah.
When I was helping out with Salada.
Yeah, I just
it's a good
actually
time.
I sent a picture of our team picture, like our senior year, to actually Danny and a bunch of people, and you're in it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. It was a good time. Mm-hmm. And a good group of guys. Like, we joke, but man, there's been a lot of guys come through that program, and girls that have been very successful in what they chose to do in life.
Yeah.
And it's pretty exciting to see it. Again, I kind of well up in pride. We like to joke around about it. But
and you deserve it.
It is. I do get very, very pride. Feel it that, man, I had an opportunity to spend some time with some really great people. And, and you're one of them.
Thanks, man.
You know what I think of you and your brother.
Yeah, thank you.
And your mom and dad and your sister. Like,
Well,
you guys
Les, his brother. I mean, come on.
but,
just be
you guys,
honest.
you
Yeah, I
guys
know.
rank up there really high. So
Thanks, man. And I tell you, I've been binging on your guys' podcast, and what you guys are doing is awesome.
Thanks.
And some of your earlier stuff, like I actually have a couple buddies that we met to do a podcast a couple years ago with the same thing in mind. And I remember you were saying Marty had to kind of talk you into it.
Oh, yeah.
They were kind of trying to talk me into it as well. And it's awesome. You guys are doing a great thing, because it's amazing what's in your community when you start looking and you start talking to people. And, I know Oni, and listen to that podcast. I was like, dang it, I didn't know all that, and you hear these things. And what's so cool is the different routes that people take and find success, and the way that links up is really interesting, and it's, Addison and I were talking on the way here, like, you may switch gears halfway through your life and go a totally different different place. Yeah. And there's just so much value in that. Yeah. So I appreciate what you guys are doing. It draws a lot of light into what's in your own community and what people are capable of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. People ask me sometimes what beyond spotlighting local things, what this podcast is about. And I always invariably come back to, it's about perseverance.
Yeah.
Most people have in their stories somewhere where they had to switch gears, or they had to do something different, or something punched them in the mouth and they had to recover from it. Yep. And, it's really funny to me that you and your brother both started out on a different path.
Yeah.
That he kind of came back to, teaching and then in education. But really, he took that break in the middle and realized, maybe I really do love that thing, right? Yeah. That's great, and
it does.
I'm super psyched that you were on.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
Fun.
This
Thanks,
was a
fellas.
blast.
Thanks.
And I'm glad that Addison said 3 sentences. So,
we should have given you a little more time.
Yeah,
there,
that's
Addison.
right.
Sorry.
But thanks for coming on, and man, best of luck to you guys out there at the Wilds.
Hey, thanks, fellas.
We'll be
I
around
appreciate
the
it.
Summer.
Hey, you let me
what
know.
else we got to do,
We'll do
right?
a Feels Like Home podcast.
You should do
that's
one.
right.
Field
We'll-
trip.
You
we'll
should.
do it.
To the wilds.
Yeah.
We keep talking about all these things that we want to do. We got to start doing them.
Yeah, I know we need to make.
So-
Well, I'll put you in the back of the truck, and we can do one surrounded by some rhinos. You just let me know.
Oh, there we go. I'm in.
Let's
All right.
go.
I'm in.
That'll work.
All right, thanks.
Yep.
You're listening to the Feels Like Home podcast with Mike Throne and Marty Ford. Powered by Horizon. This is big. This is gig.
It feels a little strange, but I don't feel alone. We just settled in and it all